Melanin is one of nature's great protectors, a pigment so powerful it acts like a built-in sunscreen, filtering out harmful ultraviolet rays before they can damage DNA or accelerate aging. People with darker skin have more melanin, and this gives them a clear evolutionary advantage in regions of the world where sun exposure is intense and constant. But like most things in biology, what protects in one environment can become a liability in another. And that's exactly what's happening when it comes to vitamin D. Melanin, for all its defensive brilliance, is also a gatekeeper. It doesn't just block UV radiation from reaching the deeper layers of skin where it can cause mutations. It also blocks the very UVB photons that the skin needs to synthesize vitamin D. The darker the skin, the more UVB is filtered out, and the harder it becomes for the body to convert sunlight into that essential hormone. In other words, melanin is a bit too good at its job. This wasn't a problem for most of human history. Populations with darker skin evolved in equatorial regions where sunlight is abundant year-round. There, despite melanin's filtering effect, enough UVB still reached the skin to produce sufficient vitamin D. The system worked beautifully, actually. Skin tone and sun exposure evolved in tandem, a natural balance between protection and production. But then humans moved. Fast. Global migration, both voluntary and forced, reshuffled people across continents and climates. And suddenly, people with highly pigmented skin found themselves in places where the sun didn't shine nearly as often or as strongly. In northern latitudes, particularly during the winter months, the UVB radiation that makes it through the atmosphere is already weak. Add a thick melanin barrier on top of that, and vitamin D production can drop to nearly zero. This mismatch is more than a biological curiosity. It has real, measurable consequences. People with darker skin living in colder, cloudier climates, such as parts of Europe, North America, or East Asia, consistently show higher rates of vitamin D deficiency. We're not talking mild insufficiency either. In some studies, up to 80 to 90% of Black or South Asian individuals in these regions fall below recommended blood levels of vitamin D. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. And vitamin D deficiency isn't just a theoretical risk. It affects real systems in the body. Without enough of it, calcium absorption drops, bone mineralization weakens, and the door opens to conditions like osteomalacia in adults and rickets in children. The immune system, too, starts to misfire. Studies have linked low vitamin D levels to increased rates of respiratory infections, autoimmune conditions, and even poorer outcomes in chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disorders. In short, when vitamin D is missing, the whole system takes a hit. And yet, the solution isn't to throw caution to the wind and sunbathe without protection. Dark-skinned individuals are still at risk for UV-related skin damage, just to a lesser degree. The better answer lies in adapting to the new environment the way our ancestors once adapted to theirs. That means prioritizing vitamin D supplementation, especially in fall and winter months. It means increasing intake of vitamin D-rich foods, fatty fish, egg yolks, fortified dairy, or plant-based alternatives. And it also means recognizing that universal guidelines don't work for everyone. A one-size-fits-all approach to sun exposure and nutrition ignores the biological diversity that evolution has written into our skin. It also calls for a cultural shift in health messaging. In many northern countries, public health campaigns have long focused on the risks of sunburn and skin cancer. Important, yes, but often framed from the perspective of lighter-skinned populations. For darker-skinned communities, the more urgent danger might not be overexposure, but underproduction. And failing to recognize that leaves millions in a silent, preventable state of deficiency. So yes, melanin is a marvelous invention, beautiful, protective, and essential. But in the wrong climate, it becomes a double-edged sword, shielding the skin while silently starving the bones and immune system of the sunshine vitamin. Recognizing that duality isn't about pathologizing dark skin, it's about respecting its evolutionary brilliance while responding intelligently to a modern world that has shuffled the deck. The good news? Unlike so many other health risks, this one is easy to fix. A simple blood test, a daily supplement, a change in perspective. That's all it takes to flip the sword back to the safe side.